Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoyed these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today we are discussing the first ever water-resistant Freak, part of a line dating back to 2001, a revolutionary brand-defining watch from Ulysse Nardin of The timepiece has a diverse parentage, and its patrimony includes the likes of Pierre Gygax, Patrick Hoffman, Carol Forestier-Casapi, and of course Ludwig Oxlin, all of them and silicon specialist Sigatech. The timepiece, launched in 2001, became the Freak Cruiser that you see here in 2013. Now 30 meters water resistant, 45 millimeters in pink gold, it's still an impressive presence on the wrist. Not nearly as thick as you'd imagine. The 45 millimeter watch is only 12.9 millimeters thick, putting it within a fraction of a millimeter of a Submariner. Yes, you can wear it with a dress cuff, and that shocked me. Lug-to-lug, it is a big timepiece. 54 millimeters lug-to-lug, 23 millimeters between the lugs. It has a broad spacing between the lugs to give it a planted stance, and you can see the lugs themselves flare out another 3 millimeters or so on both sides of the integrated strap. The strap, of course, flush to the case, so that there is no daylight showing. It's a highly integrated look. It does create a little bit of virtual flare, but I can wear the watch on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, and as you just saw, it was a good fit. I would recommend it for wrists as small as 15 centimeters in circumference. The strap, substantial, bolstered, as you can see, dark, large rectangular scale alligator leather in brown, monotone stitch, folded edge, calfskin on the underside, and it is a brand new Ulysse Nardin factory strap. Double deploying clasp, beautifully finished, all of high polished pink gold. You can see the swing arm of one side acts as a spring for the twin trigger system, so this is quite a secure clasp. It also helps to counterweight the heavy watch when it is on your wrist. The watch, in the fashion of Ulysse Nardin vintage marine chronometers or deck clocks, features a blued screw fixed number plate on the side, and you can see the case itself is quite expressive. It has a rather traditional bowl-shaped center with the appearance of a welded lug. Now, this isn't a welded lug, but it does recreate the vintage look of a lug that's physically separate and then soldered onto the case, with the defining trait being that sharp cleft between the flank of the lug and the rounded form of the case. It creates sharp character lines at the four corners of the watch, granting this sizable timepiece a little bit of definition and articulating the mass and metal. You can see there is a bit of a sawtooth profile, both the top of the bezel as well as the functional grip of the bezel. You do use the bezel to set the time with this carousel-style baguette movement, effectively acting as the minute hand. Since the second iteration of the Freak, there has been a lift lock system down at 6 o'clock, and that unlocks the bezel and the baguette movement. You can see it acts as the minute hand. There's an hour hand just beneath. When you don't want it to move, you lock it by pressing down the Freak lock. You can see that the dial has incredible depth, starting on the gold-plated bridge of the baguette caliber. A baguette caliber, by the way, effectively what you see on a Corum golden bridge, but here it doubles as a carousel, a system invented by Dane Bonabonnickson in the late 19th century as a more robust version of the tourbillon. It also oscillates and allows the movement to present itself to various orientations of gravity, but it's simply a tougher mechanism than a tourbillon, as there's a separate drive for the carousel's motion and the escapement. That's how I can move the entire movement assembly without crashing the escapement. Now, inboard, there is a vulcanized rubber chapter ring just inside of the bezel. There is a sapphire crystal, and let's get super close here, afford ourselves some more light. You can see that there is no pivot hole in the sapphire, as this was a flying carousel, the Freak's first. So there is no upper pivot. So you have 30 meter water resistant, whereas previous Freaks had 0 ATM water resistance, dust and moisture only. So you have a little bit more robustness of movement and of water resistance. You can see that there is a loomed segment on both hour and minute hands, so there will be a loom shot. Underneath, you can see the linear arrayed drivetrain, twin silicon and hollow tooth individual escape wheels, and they only impulse the balance in its direction of travel, significantly reducing the friction involved, and it is tangential contact, a little bit like what you see in an Omega coaxial. Now, there is also an anti-magnetic silicon hairspring, the escapement operating unlubricated, and all of this silicon being made in-house by Ulysse Nardin's Sigatech accessory company that it purchased in 2006. They developed its original silicon and in-house since 2006. This is the only manufacturer of silicon movement components and hairspring outside of the Swatch, Rolex, and Patek Philippe trio that developed silicon hairspring technology in the industry. You can also see that there is a sapphire crystal that acts as the hour track underneath, so many different levels. There's a metallic grayscale finish across the base plate. You can see the Ulysse Nardin number plate bolted in the same fashion as the number plate on the side. That is the name plate, I should say, is bolted in. Now, turning it all over, by the way, the watch beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour. You see there is a silicon wafer in the case back as well as a wave motif, and you use the case back to wind the watch. It has a 7-day power reserve, this Ulysse Nardin UN205 movement, pivoting on 19 joules, beating away at 3 hertz, and you can see there is a set of viewports into the mainspring, and the tighter it coils, the closer it is to fully wound. So once you're used to the watch and you're accustomed to its operation, you will be able to use this as an informal power reserve indicator to gauge the remaining autonomy of the 7-day power reserve. It's an informal power reserve display. You can see the case back, a sawtooth profile with a combination of matte finish and polish that matches the bezel perfectly. A handsome watch, a dynamic watch, and as the first water-resistant Freak, an historically important watch for Ulysse Nardin, it cuts a striking profile on the wrist, a durable and rare modern implementation of the carousel. There are many tourbillon watches out there, very few carousels. You can see everything is contemporary, from the materials to the architecture. It even has a full balance bridge with a free-sprung index for shock resistance. The Freak truly is aesthetically, technically, and historically the full package. See this one and make it yours on the watch box. As promised, Ulysse Nardin Freak lume shot, and what a lume shot. They certainly didn't save any luminescent material, and note the anchor motif repeated on both of the hands, a reminder of Ulysse Nardin's marine heritage.